The Insta360 Flow is a gimbal for Android and iPhone with a lot of tricks up its sleeve. It's meant for content creators, but will the Flow help you grow, or is it a no-go? I'd like to thank Insta360 for sending me this for the purpose of making this review. The Flow's design is creative and eye-catching. Some might say the form factor is revolutionary, and while I think that might be a bit hyperbolic, it does look unique, and the way it deploys is also unique and superior to any other phone gimbal that I know of. In one single motion, it unfolds, powers on, connects to the phone, and automatically launches the app. It feels really solid and dense, and the matte white plastic gives it a futuristic style, though, much like my old boss's ex-wife, it does get dirtier the more time you spend with it, so you might want to give it a wipe down every once in a while. The smoked transparent cover adds to the modern styling and reminds me of a certain Android phone brand. There's a pop-out tripod, which is a little bit flimsy, but it does the job, and unlike competing gimbals on the market which need a tripod to be screwed on, this one's hidden neatly inside when not in use. There's a surprisingly long telescopic selfie stick built in, and it's more sturdy than I imagined it would be. It comes with this magnetic mount that clips to your phone and holds it securely to the gimbal, though I found that using an iPhone 7, 8 or SE without a case on was not possible because those phones are too small and easily slip out. For minimum specs, you'll need at least an iPhone 8 or higher, or a similarly capable Android phone to be able to use the Flow. It charges by USB-C, and that port can also power your phone or run this little light. When folded, the Flow is really small. It easily fits in a jeans pocket. Even when unfolded, it's a very slim and streamlined device, though it is quite tall and a bit top-heavy, a bit like my old boss's ex-wife. Getting shots at unusual angles or low to the ground might seem like a challenge at first because there's a limited amount of tilt that it will allow before it pulls the phone down with it, but that's only until you discover this hinge. This, combined with the telescopic pole, allows you to get low to the ground for things like skateboarding and chasing after pets. Before you can use it, you'll need to have an account and activate the Flow using the app, and for that you'll need to give it some permissions, including Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, camera, photo album, microphone, notifications, your precise location, and access to your home network. Once you agree to that, you'll be up and running in just a few minutes. The controls are easy to learn, and the app has a tutorial that explains everything in simple terms. The joystick lets you pan and tilt. There's a tactile clickable record button, a switch button, which lets you switch between your front and rear cameras, and flip from portrait to landscape. It also lets you switch between photo and video. The outer wheel is spring-loaded and lets you zoom in and out and scrub through your footage when playing it back. This whole black disc is touch sensitive, so sliding over it in a semicircular motion changes the gimbal mode. I found the semicircle motion quite awkward, but luckily you can also just lightly double tap the left or right side to do the exact same thing. The trigger lets you recenter, and it can flip the phone around 180 degrees. It also activates the tracking. The object tracking on the Flow is really quite impressive in its sophistication and in how easy it is to use. To track a person, animal, or object, you just center the subject in the frame and single-click the trigger. If there's a lot of clutter in the scene and you want to be more precise, you can draw a box around the object. If they briefly go behind an obstacle, it's able to reacquire a lock when they reappear. It's quite clever in that when you track a person, it recognizes that person and only tracks them, even if other people come into the scene. Of course, the main function of a device like this is to stabilize your footage, and the Flow does this super well. The footage I get when walking, running, and even climbing over obstacles is really smooth. Some people might think, what's the point of a gimbal when modern smartphones already have good stabilization? But the thing is, while the latest phones do a good job at smoothing out vibrations and bumps, they don't match a mechanical gimbal like this. The hardware is outstanding, but when it comes to the app, it is easy to use and very feature-rich, but I don't feel all that great about some of the permissions it requires, especially the part where it wants access to my home network, which gives it at least the potential for collecting data about all the devices on my network. I would love to see camera companies go back to making their products work right out of the box, without us having to give so much personal information before we can just try the product. The Flow is a phenomenal piece of hardware, and it integrates with the app really well for a simple and stress-free user experience. I don't know of any other phone gimbal that's this easy and quick to deploy. The tracking works amazingly well, and the build quality is high, with the design being quite beautiful. Of the 4 or 5 phone gimbals I've used in the past couple of years, this is my favourite so far. It's a really impressive device. The battery life is so good that I didn't even bother doing a proper test because this entire review was done on a single charge. The stabilization is really solid, and it's just so incredibly compact and easy to use. There's a link below if you want to get one or learn more about it, and if you found this useful or interesting, I'd appreciate a thumbs up. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time.